Mic test. Mic test. It's a bit loud. Okay, what about there? That's better. Okay, chat is good. Just gotta wait, and we'll get started. Huh, that's cool. I didn't know we could do this. You can go to specific parts of each chapter. I'm just gonna do a little bit of gameplay that we've already done in another stream, so that there's something going on for people who are watching this after the live stream is over. Okay, what voice did I give this guy again? Well, I understand you are the judicial assistant to the defense. Why this sudden ingress into my court? Ha! A judicial assistant. Not reading that. Gonna skip a bit. let's look at the court record. See what information is here. Poison made from the bark of certain trees in the jungles of South America. The hunters of the region have used it since ancient times to incapacitate their prey. Effects: instant paralysis of the entire body and subsequent death, even in minute doses. The above-mentioned effects occur when the poison enters the body through a wound, such as that inflicted by a blowpipe dart. Due to its ability to render the human body paralytic, it is believed that the toxin could have application as an anesthetic. However, a solution for the respiratory arrest caused as a result of the full-body paralysis must be found first, or patients would die of suffocation. Now I need to find this, guys. Frisky. Your Excellency, the defense does have new evidence. That look. The unyielding stare of a true Japanese warrior. Well, Miss Brett? Yes, Your Excellency? If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could grace us with your presence a little longer. It's a delightful invitation, but I'm afraid it's not so very long until tea time. I'll have to politely decline. Forgive me, Miss Brett. It seems I wasn't clear. I realize it was phrased as a question. However, I must ask you to treat that as an order. I've said it many times before, but Japanese language makes no sense. Yeah, like English is any better. God, I hate this bitch. For those of you who haven't seen the other ones, she's the murderer.
Yes! Objection!
It's taking them a while. Dance of deduction. I love this part. Herlock Sholmes. I'm gonna let this autoplay while we wait. Ooh, someone has joined. I'm just letting this autoplay while I'm waiting for a couple people to show up. It's alright, Nick, don't worry about it. Boot, are you the other one? We have 2 people watching now. I'm the third, so that I can make sure I see all the comments. Fell asleep. I think I will start because I think it's boot. Not sure, but if it isn't, we can just catch him up on what's happening. All right, so oh, all right. And we'll wait a bit longer. So if we remember correctly, we are defending someone. We're defending. Oh, let's look at the court record. We are defending this guy, Magnus McGilded. He's an incredibly wealthy philanthropist. With a wonderful reputation in London. I'm to defend him as a test of my worthiness to become a lawyer. We have taken this case as a test from this guy, Male Strongheart. He's told us that if we win this case, we can study law in Britain as a replacement on that exchange program. Let's see, what evidence do we have? We just have the armband. It identifies the wearer as a defense lawyer through the Empire of Japan. It's the badge. Alright, so yeah, we have some evidence. By some, I mean none. Alright, so yeah, I'm just gonna start. Okay, need to get back into the voice. So this is the highest court in Great Britain. The Old Bailey. That's not it. Yeah, but we're usually going off of nothing. We're fine. We'll do it. Once I'm doing his voice for long enough, it'll come back. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. My mic's still picking up. Yes, it is. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. What? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know. I just can't help it. Alright, Boot is on his way. He just sent me a message. This is the judge in Britain? Oh, God. Okay. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilvey. Oh, by the way, I have Danganronpa, so I might play that on stream at some point. It is Santa! I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defense, who appear to be... Eastern? Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready, and I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. That's creepy. I'm not reading that. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. Ugh, a cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilvey. Shut up, emo vampire playboy. He kind of does look like a vampire. What voice did I give this guy? Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder, capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even... Oh, right. Ha! Even if the fella is a student from some little island off in the Far East. That's too Australian. It's not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. I can't do his accent right now because I'm kind of a little bit sick right now. But I'm well enough to do this and I really want to play this game. It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilvray. That's definitely welcome news. He certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilvray, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Bullshit. Are you ready to proceed? Alright, so we're going to be dealing with 6 witnesses instead of, what was it, 2 or 3? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Yeah, that's impartial. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. He's drinking in court. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Those people are... The jury? Yes, that's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passed his sentence according to the law, but the jurors determined guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. Hey, Boot! Welcome! Yeah, we have 6 jurors to contend with now. How exactly do the jurors give the verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. The drinking guy does look like someone from Overcooked. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zykes. My lord. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy, rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Just testing my, It's difficult to do that guy's voice. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. He does look out of place. The only person that looks out of place is the main character. Which never happens. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Oh, perfect timing. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in late evening. 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks, known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. His name is literally Mason. Masonry is the act of brick building. Or building buildings with bricks. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. The autopsy report has been entered in the court record. The cause of death is internal hemorrhaging as a result of a single stab wound to the abdomen. Photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus, the knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked hat. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. Bloody gloves. And these are... Oh, good lord! Is that blood, counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. Shocker. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? Oh, the accent really slipped there. Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. There's a blood stain on the right glove. That will be important. How did I get into this? I backed into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances, to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded. Be sure I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness. I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? It is the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilting, so it is. When I opened my eyes again... Ooh, the bus driver could have done it. 'Twas a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't... That's too... That's too Brooklyn. Rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach. Wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? Reached out to give the man a hand. You know what? He may just have a Brooklyn accent. So the blood got into the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. There's the overcooked dude. Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Yeah, I don't know why they have an old lady on the jury. She's literally knitting mittens for her grandson. Thank you, Counsel. Oh, yeah, she's great, but I don't know why she's here. Thank you, Counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Oh, wow, these are the witnesses. Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Bad Boy. I drive an omnibus in the East End. So that's the driver. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First? Ladies first. I make hats for chins. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yeah, all three of the witnesses are each concerning in their own right. Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Alright, here we go. Witness testimony. What the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. How... Wait. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, Anna, have you even traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. He brought the damn carriage into the courtroom? Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today. In this very building. What? The entire carriage? Bailiff. Bring forth the stricken omnibus. Wow, you couldn't have been any more dramatic, huh? So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses. It can carry up to 8 passengers. Four passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. But didn't the bus driver literally just say that he only had 2 customers at that time? The victim and McGilded? These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced a crime scene what was that? Crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. Sorry for that noise, that was weird. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. The omnibus has been entered into the court record. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene enters as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Already on it. Open the door! Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? The scene of a murder. It's horrible. This seat has a handle, it seems. And for storage underneath it. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubes, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. What the hell do you mean? Look at all this space here. There's a bloodstain. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. Victims, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that? Well, it was after dark. There was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description, so I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin, at least. Okay, I think that's all we're gonna find down there. Can't find anything out of place. Phoenix Wright Omnibus. Phoenix Wright is the name of the first main character of these games. Literally the guy we're playing as now is his ancestor. Ooh, there is a latch. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin, so I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. But there's a latch. Look at the latch. Look at the latch. Look at the latch. Put the latch in the court record. Okay, I don't think we're gonna get very much from that right now. We'll just continue with the proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. All right, my first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus. I love how he just slapped himself in court. Hell yeah! Alright. It's the last bus of the evening, so oh, he had few customers. Hold it! Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir. Yes. Ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. You had 4 passengers on board at the time. Is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course. No. So if it was freezing, why were 2 of them sitting on top of the bus? Wouldn't it make more sense? The cabin can hold 4 passengers. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example. You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then. I have to say, the boss insists on it running. He does every evening, the last bus of the day. I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Hold it!
Hold it!
Pressed it too late. And you saw them through the skylight and the roof of the carriage. That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. For 2 of the seats. There was a lamp on inside, so I had a pretty good view. 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. There's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Let's look at what this guy looks like. That looks nothing like the silhouette that we just saw. Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. Couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There was no room for doubt here. Really wish there was. There is room for doubt. And out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Hold it! You actually saw the exact moment it happened. Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair, dinkum, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? He's a banker. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. Really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail. That's... My lord! Juror number 3. What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? About what? I don't like the stinking rich, never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. Why do you have a knife? That little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. Oh, shit! There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. It's my opinion on the matter, anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. We're gonna be voting in real time. What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire! Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well, the court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed I did. Couldn't help it. Hold it! He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly. A huge, great knife. A grim sight indeed. Ah, that didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes, sir. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief! Yes, that's it! The very one, sir. Is that... Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. That is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is. And furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. Let me guess. M. Yep. The letter M. Which seems oddly familiar. Now, hold on. Could be Mason's knife. Please, no. M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. Could also be Mason, asshole. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake. But there are M's everywhere. Like, yes, like in Mason.
Objection!
Ooh, he has a fancy objection. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. The murder weapon. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Juror number 2. Go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman. A gentleman's words should be sacrosanct. What the hell does that mean? Does that mean he should be believed? However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. Son of a bitch. How are we supposed to... Can they change their vote? No. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. Damn. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. No. Oh god, no. Not again. That's 4 of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something. That will give us a way to fight back. But... Alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. What are you saying, Nick? Oh, this is not a trial. No, this is an execution. Let's look at the knife. An ornate letter M. Undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. And it's beautifully gilded, too. Must be very valuable, I should think. Ah, what is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W. Yes, this is one of those, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. I'm afraid I don't know it all. But what I am sure of is that this is an M. Oh, well, that idea was quickly quashed. That part is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, sorry. Yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh, those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade, that's Kazuma's soul. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Yeah, remember that Kazuma is his friend, and his friend said that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. So we're pretty much literally carrying the legacy of our friend with us. Now that is quite a bit of blood. That looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood. The victims. Englishman's blood looked a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. Alright, well that brought nothing. Hold it! What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. By the passenger, obviously you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And then the other passenger had that knife in his hand, like this. The other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then you plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. That's bullshit. That's not... No, that is bullshit. There's no way that that's how he did it. My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5, do I take it that you, too, as the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. Wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all of the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind a little. Yep, now Silver plays, the finish is in sight. Beppo was a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. Too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. It all rests on the granny. God damn it. Of course it does. But I think I have something to object to now. Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. A gilded park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know. To put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said, I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have had it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, the one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying it. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure of that. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious! The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, his pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him: his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly. Solicitor, you claimed that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where's the evidence to support your claim? You're drinking wine in court. Sir? What a pretentious prick. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. Aha! There it is. Lord Van Zyke's hallowed chalice. How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I'd heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As judicial assistant to the defense, I'm simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Okay, before we continue on... Oh yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. Who else owed him money? This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes' name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness. What is it? Look at this. Do you see this name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Yep. Shocker. I bet it's Fairplay. Fairplay is the murderer, probably. Oh, we're just going to see the same thing over and over again. Okay. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused. It's such a pretty little part, too. What a scoundrel! Still, maybe it's all for the best. But wait a minute! Let's think about this a little more before... I don't stand for nonsense! What was it? Last year's decision. Ah, according to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. Final verdict. It's over then. Oh! There's a footnote, though. A footnote. However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. There's still a way for us to pull this off, then. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections. Miss Susato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You went in the middle of saying something before. A footnote in the Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense. What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, the proceedings are suspended, blah, 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 blah. The footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Hell yeah! A summation? Examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Ah! Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Miss Susato? This so-called summation examination? Oh, one moment and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Typical. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. It says here that If successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. That procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? A summation examination. A last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out? Permit defeat. Assert our right, damn it! The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain banned.
Objection!
But if it's all right, it's all right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. That rhymed. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? I'm not. There was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so all members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believed the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all this justifying lark. Which means I just pulled it out of my ass and I don't have any actual reason. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Perfect time for a turnabout. Alright then. Summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe, it might be the opportunity we've been looking for. To turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime. Judicial findings. Oh, this is cool. Jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. Ha ha ha! Oh, we already got a contradiction. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. Okay, so we're gonna press the guy who says that he stabbed him just like this, and then she will have that like thing where I have to then press her about it, and she'll contradict the other juror. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. 4 pence. So then there were 5. There were 5 passengers then. He said there were only 4. But if... He said that there were only 4. But she just said that, She just said that the fare was 20 pence. Which means there has to be a 5th one. A scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. Beggar's belief. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them. Use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, it's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw the icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. And what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. There's like 7 of them. That's not true. But there's a lot of them. If we can then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in the statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. All right, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this, expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Oh shit, I'm standing in front of the... I'm standing in front of the witness stand. The defense's rebuttal. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. Trust the driver.
Objection!
Objection! Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blaze's mane and name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right, I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is, fair and convenient single price, which is the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact, or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare. Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible. There was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men. One and all, trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon. Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he let nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales. Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. There we go! Woo! Trial's not over yet. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. Ha ha ha! Suck it, Zykes. Suck it, Zykes. Suck it, Zykes. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there's something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertion. Exactly. You can do it. Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. Stuck the chap next to him just like this. I'm double checking their statements. Scoundrel stabbing them. Got it! Objection! Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel. Post haste. It's fairly self-explanatory, my lord. Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? It means you're an idiot. We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the exact moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3... What? Can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for a young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Now, don't move! Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. Well, I never! They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches! What a muddle! What a muddle! What? What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh. But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen, in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. We got Granny on our side. I can't abide people telling lies. The scales! I don't believe it! Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him. His black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. The magic is logic, dumbass. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, dark jinx. Jesus. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. This young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. Ha! We're about to shove the autopsy report right in this dumbass's face. This old lady saw him do it. Well, let's just say it didn't happen like that, Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. You just threatened murder... Oh my god, they both did. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? The two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime. It is out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof. Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by... Take that! This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time, which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Ha ha ha! Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won this portion of the trial. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. If the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Why is he licking his knife like that? That's gross. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Uh-oh. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zykes! Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tone no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination, so I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. That's not gonna get anybody on your side, pal. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No. And why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Oh shit, he removed the cape. Bring forth the witnesses once more! You know it's getting real when someone who's wearing a cape takes off the cape. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure. Oh, yes, sir, that I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir, I heard it. You, sir, on the end, the coachman, I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. We're advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh, mio Leo. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. You both still with me? I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it. But, well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing them. Everything I said before stands. Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage? Beppo, explain yourself! I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The Guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? Okay, good. Nick is still with us. What about you, Boot? It's so cold, and the last burn of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. Your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. Done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. Various misgivings. You carried 4 passenger. Hold on. Hold it! So, there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day. Hey, I'm so cold that I'll get due to stop myself passing out. Getting chilblains just listening to you. It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a fifth passenger on the omnibus that night. Then we would have had another suspect. The one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. Fiddled us on the fare. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing him in everything I said before stands. Hold it! So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only the two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a fifth passenger. As yet, zero evidence. And what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white. The man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jaws with me. I wish I could work out what it was. Don't have enough information yet for an objection. Hold it! Earlier you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice-pick grip. I suppose. I might have, yes. Put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was dragging the horse. I was the one I heard scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Then when I turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. So I guessed him, the fellow holding the handle was the famous man. Yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought I did, but when I go over it again in my head, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I?
Excuse me!
You're saying, excuse me? Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that, eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? No chance. Well, it is a little hard to believe, suddenly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a Ballarat day. What the hell does that mean? It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that, all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man? Not long ago, this trial very nearly came to an end. Somehow we've managed to keep our chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I have to use it to bring some new facts to light. I just completely skipped their dialogue. Okay. But I know what to respond to anyway. Because this guy is about to say that, the dude's hands were blood-soaked, but we know that that is not true. Objection! Blood-soaked. Hands? Well, I admit that soaked may be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. He's chewing on his cane. Why? Why is he doing that? In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. But no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then. Going at his cane like a wood chipper. That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said it was both hands. That can't be good for your teeth, sir. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused. No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why, I'm a city banker, for pity's sake, but my word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay may be lying, to turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. I have evidence. The ledger. My lord. My lord. My lord. My lord. Yes, counsel. The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes. Evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had a reason to lie in his testimony. Yeah, all your dark secrets are about to be revealed, Fairplay. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court. Take that! This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused's extortion. The point is, among the names of those debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas, not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you agree? We're showing that Fairplay is a lying sack of shit. Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, whether creditor, the defendant here, be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. All right, now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth in a pinch. A pinch. But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilded's hands. Both of them. And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Frost. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think... Yes, I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What?! Would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. We already have. We're just pressing it further. The witnesses really saw. Let's look at those gloves again. Because there's clearly only blood on one glove. So how could they have seen it on both? They're not his gloves. His gloves were not the ones with blood on them. So who did they belong to? There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself, no, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen. Ha! I got it! They didn't see him. They saw a silhouette. Because, as they've said, it was cold that night. And when it's cold, glass frosts. They didn't see a damn thing. All they saw was a silhouette stabbing another. Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage. The man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. I think it would be cooler if the sword that is with Ryunosuke was a katana. So that it's both of their respective swords clashing. Hold it! And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus. That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Oh yes, I remember I was shivering. It was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh, why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked. That's right, and it's a public bus service, for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down. I was glaring, long and hard. That's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. Not sure about these two witnesses. They really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight. They might not have been able to. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight and the floor of the upper deck. Is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated? Take that! Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here. Ah! That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, someone had been sitting on that seat. It's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it. I need some water.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Huh. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? I have an inkling. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. The response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons, not yet learned. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... Take that! Yes, concealed in the blind spot of the cabin that night was none other than this unexpected passenger. Whatever so-called logic you used to arrive at that conclusion, it matters not, as your answer has made one thing abundantly clear. The real blind spot is inside your head, would appear to be unusually large. Damn it. I could have just said that's not right. Sonara Hodo, our task here is to defend Mr. McGilded. We are working on the assumption that he is innocent of this crime. Yes, of course. Why? That must mean, then, that there was someone else inside the omnibus with Mr. McGilded, the true culprit. That's right, exactly what I've been... Oh! Of course, so the two people sitting inside the cabin that the witnesses saw through the skylight that night. They were the victim and the real culprit. That was my second guess. It does seem as though we've all been making a false assumption. The witnesses weren't looking at Mr. McGilded at all, meaning he has to have been sitting somewhere else. Defense is still naming a passenger in the other seat. Blah, 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 blah. On that night, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... Take that! The passenger in the enclosed cabin that witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
Oh shit. If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zyte! People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Hang on. Okay. Just checking my audio again. Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater... Wow, fuck you, dude. Japan has more culture than Britain will ever have. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It's the very premise on which this case is built. But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. If both witnesses made the same testimony, they claim that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains. The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, the testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary. Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes, the tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yes, that's right, both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. Do you call yourself a hatter? The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin. How can you be sure? How can you be sure? Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly be offered to depose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. The accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled. There is something that could have happened. He's right. There was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. It's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Order! There was clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a false statement to the police. But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord, should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify or not? Demand his testimony. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say. Get the man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony. Something needs doing? Get it done. That's how I run things at the Guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. The proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? To be sure I have, my lord. There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal the fact from the police? God, no, it's not my nature to hide anything at all. Just answer the questions, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell yous all? Keep me mouth shut. Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye, 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. You what? No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry. So I am, Lord Van Zykes. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was? Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. Who is this young child of whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know? Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since. We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witnesses' statements to be disregarded by the court. Hold on. I want to see something. Blah, blah, blah. Open the door. Inside. Look at this compartment again. That looks like it could fit a child, doesn't it? I believe it can. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? What is going on? Be careful, Miss Narrow. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in the desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. To be continued. Okay, well, I think... I don't know. We'll keep going. What on earth just happened in there? Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke. A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use. They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long. Who would have done something like that? The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently. Flee the courtroom? Why? Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear. A young girl. Could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about? My thoughts exactly. So he wasn't lying. What's become of Mr. McGilded? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here. I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl. Who is she, I wonder? What was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, For what possible benefit to herself? There's another matter that's troubling me. What's that? The 20 pence. According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night with a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers, which means the figures don't seem to add up again. She's right. It's strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. Trial will recommence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away. Well, wherever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial. We'll know soon enough, Mr. Soto. Yes! Yes! Yes, we will. I need more water. There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look, she must have been the one who caused the disturbance before. Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Sykes. My lord, I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled the proceedings earlier. It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, of the sort typically employed by the army. Good gracious, the army? What in the devil's name? It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught, and now occupies the stand. Your name? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my court? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior? Ahem. If I may, my lord. Yes, Mr. McGilded? I think perhaps I ought to explain here why it is that this wee lass was here in the first place, why she tried to bolt like that. It was all tied up with the events of that night, so it is. Very well, Mr. McGilded, give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then Bora? A loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at my feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me. I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? What did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. I remained somewhat baffled, I confess, but from what I gather on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus. Is that correct? It is exactly as the defense counsel said. This lass was the 5th passenger, my lord. Look at that, they're the same height. Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witnesses. Are you ready, counsel? Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. No idea where to start. Hold it! You sat him up, the victim, I mean. That I did, on the seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. You wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? It is common courtesy, so it is. I find that a little hard to believe. Lord Van Sykes, now why would that be? You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage. any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is. Well now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them. Some would even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble. You're suggesting that you were just going to leave the man then? Heavens alive, no! I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only, had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first. The whys and wherefores? Right you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes, the scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing. Trying to find out where that scream... Hold it! You say she was hiding herself. Hold on. This wasn't a murder. The girl is thrice-fired Mason's daughter. And he saw an opportunity to frame the philanthropist who he owed money to for murder, thereby giving the money that he borrowed from Mr. whatever his name is, Mr. McGilded, to his daughter. No one is guilty, except for the victim himself. It was hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. Eyes met, well, heart nearly stopped beating in me chest. Really overacting this. Still and all, I pulled her out from under there, and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chin wag with her. The seat opposite. That's right, just next to the dead gentleman. There sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir. Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream, a fella's voice this time. Presumably that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly. In other words, the previous witnesses did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGilded. What they believed to be yourself and this victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason. I, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage out of sight. It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused perhaps with this young girl. After that, of course, with the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses. I do wonder how you must be feeling, Mr. Naruhodo. Being the defendant's lawyer and yet finding myself as stunned as everyone else at his testimony? Let's just say it's trying. We certainly had precious little time to talk to Mr. McGilded before the trial. But we mustn't be dispirited. We must just try to learn all the facts we can. When we arrived in London this morning, I didn't see my day panning out quite like this. Mr. Naruhodo, no grumbling, even in your head. But how did you know? I shall check the next seat. Hold it! A loud thud, you say, and a scream? Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? It was like the sound of someone falling to the ground, that sort of noise. So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor having been stabbed? Well, now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me and I opened my eyes, there wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fella on the floor. You didn't see anyone, but at the same moment you did hear a scream. From the seats above you on the roof deck, I presume. Not above me, no, it was from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before my eyes. Oh, I completely missed the blood on the floor. God. Oh, I'm stupid. What do I do? Hold it! I'm afraid I don't understand. Sure, you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir. So I did. As far as I could see, that is. What do you mean by that? Well, now, it's a queer thing. The wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside. Good gracious! Under your backside? When I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubbyhole there for storage. Hold up. We examined the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yes, of course, the whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside. That's when I found her. Objection! God damn it, what do I do? Where did all the stuff inside of it go? He tampered with the crime scene? Objection! Okay, god damn it. What?
Hold it!
Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat? I had to press everything, that's it? Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, and are crossed along among large crowds relieving people of their purses. Ah, so she's a pickpocket. What? This girl here, a petty thief. Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question. How dare you? What is the meaning of this? What was the point in that little sidestep? Oh my god. I don't want to read any of this. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the truth, not... Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, alright? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess, you don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs. Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day, down where they keep the four-wheel drags. It's nice, isn't it? I like the pink vest. Do not wave that thing in my direction again. So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question. It's alright, lass. You can tell them the truth now. Alright. Yeah. It's just like the Irishman said. Oh, he's Irish! Court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question. Alright, if I have to. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. Got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I'll tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then after a while, I hear this loud bang. Loud bang? Yes, he let you go. I fail to understand why you would let the street urchin go, Mr. McGilvin. Oh, 'tis simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. How? As I'm sure I said before, sir. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself. I think a demonstration is called for. This is where I was sat that night. And the cubbyhole of which you have spoken is underneath the seat. Yes, it does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature. Aye, but of course I realized I was stuck in there, because I parked myself on the seat for the duration. So you see, that's why I lit the last bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent. Even though you must have realized your action would result in your own innocence being called into question. Not at all, my lord. Not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass. My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir. Calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Let me guess, the prosecutor can also do that thing he can do. Saints alive! All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty? Mr. Naruhodo, this must mean what? That we're victorious. We've won? Are you
Objection!
Sure? What is happening? Why did he just put his leg on the fucking table? Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to say that. If the sight of my iron-heeled Wellington offends, pray do forgive the discourtesy. This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. Emotion? The witness's latest statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature. What do you mean, his true nature? Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report. Good Lord! The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGilwood's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. It was you, you slimy bastard! How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my friend? Me? When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the underseat compartment to be? Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy. Sorry? Go ahead. You tell the court now, fella. How this is all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Zykes. Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? It wasn't empty. I will not shirk my honor for the sake of getting an easy win. I really don't know if giving this answer is helping my cause as a counsel for the defense, but as far as I remember at least, when I first examined the compartment, I'm fairly certain there were a number of articles inside it, yes. Are you sure, counsel? What are you saying now, you daft daw? I thought you were on my side here. Sorry. What game are you playing? Your task is to defend the man in the stand. Why would you say something to compromise his position? As the advocate for the defense in this trial, I confess I'm still not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should state what facts I do know as clearly and honestly as possible. Interesting. I did not press any button. I don't know why that happened. 'Tis not altogether pleasing, fella. I'm simply telling the truth, Mr. McGilvery. Well, don't forget that you're supposed to be representing my best interests here, lad. Now then. Fella's memory is a curious thing, not altogether reliable, for the court must consider the facts. That there cubbyhole under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is. Do you think perhaps it would be your best interests now to admit that you might have been mistaken? Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here? I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. Guild's rules state that omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times, so it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. The money-lending fleecer and the pick purse are lying. Can't believe I was nearly taken in. Stinkin' rich are always stinkers. Nothing but cowards, the lot of them. What? Oh no. It's a trick. Of course it's a trick. Quite so, I must concur here. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time a different truth, it seems. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please. Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted, almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. We're not going to present anything yet. Hold it! So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah. I mean, what's the point of spending a Joey to make a few bob? It's a rum idea, isn't it? Suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief, kindly refraining from entertaining her tenants. That does clear up the little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the cabman testified. 1 little scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a driver always goes for some grub before his last run. Your hiding place is a storage compartment, full of equipment for the coach, no? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell you. Seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue. Waste of time. Hold it! So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all. Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me head and look out the crack. Then I can have a butcher's... at who I'm gonna fit... What the hell does this mean? I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? Most of the time, the passengers plant themselves opposite. For some reason, that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. For that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. It's too much like being thrown in the clink. It's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's the Obson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open, then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there. Nothing else for it. After a while, I hear this loud bang, and we jump down the skin.
Hold it!
Hold it! When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. The point is, it made me jump. She let out a scream, voluntarily. That's right, and I felt the cushion over my head get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. But equally in the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not? Did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butcher. I had the chance, didn't I? Irishman was sitting up. The bloke that had fallen on the floor in the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilded's account, of course. But then the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should never have risked looking. Because of that.
Hold it!
Hold it. This is annoying. When did Mr. McGilded discover you? He pulled you out from your hiding place. Scared stiff, you're next to the victim. Cut a knife in his guts, he was still bleeding. The carriage looked a bit and he ended up falling onto me. Both my hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Both her hands covered in blood. Must be what the rooftop passengers saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilded for a while. Is that correct? He asked me some stuff. He wanted to know me name and what I was up to in that. Then I heard something from up above. Someone screamed. It was Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume. Well, I didn't want no one seeing me face, so I didn't look up. The horses were drawn up smartish, and this here Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later."
Hold it!
Objection! I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I don't know what to do.
Excuse me.
Oh, god damn it, I didn't mean to do that. I don't know what to do. I'm stumped. There has to be something I can present, but I don't know what I'm supposed to present where. Like here, I could present the autopsy report. I could also put the crime scene photograph on there. I don't have enough information.
Hold it! Well, no.
Are you kidding me?
Excuse me.
Sack of shit. Why didn't you react earlier? Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seemed to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no, 'twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. It was terrifying, so it was. I see. Yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Aye, and I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does. Maybe. Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. There's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers? It's profoundly important. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important. Profoundly important? But all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is the profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your mind, Counsel. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, I will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please. Hold it! So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time, since the moment you hid yourself? Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butcher's to see what was what. Then when I saw this swell getting on, I got my head down so he didn't notice me. Mr. McGilded sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? So all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave. But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market, snoring like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw from that? Doesn't add up. Miss Lestrade, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts. At odds? Are you sure, man? Absolutely. It seems my learned friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Zykes realized it too. So if she didn't hear anything, then how the hell did the guy die from one stab wound without her hearing about it? I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Miss Lestrade, whilst she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Miss McGillicud's snoring. But think. There's something else she should have heard. Show a piece of evidence. Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. Sound very clearly explained by the following piece of evidence. Take that! Oh, I'm an idiot. The sound of the carriage. The sound of the carriage.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
And here I thought I might actually have a case where I just do it in one shot. Okay.
Hold it!
Yeah, he didn't react the first time.
Hold it!
So do I have to press again? Now he reacts. This is bullshit. Ah, I hate that. I had to start over from this point, yeah. That's why I'm not reading anything and just skipping through. Because I'm getting to the point where we were.
Hold it!
Just put it here since you hid yourself. It's like we know. Start with. Doesn't have it. Thankfully, I don't have to restart the entire case over again. Which, if you don't save in the original Ace Attorney games, you did. You would have to start that whole trial over again. Or that whole part of the trial again. Take that! Oh, piss off, you asshole! Victim? I don't know. This part's ridiculous.
Take that!
The sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. See, I really like these games, but sometimes they have these sections like this that are just ridiculous. Like, there are so many things that she should have heard. Like, what I was trying to prove is that she should have heard the murder. She should have heard the cart moving. She should have heard the cart stopping. She should have heard a lot of things, but it's expecting me to know the very exact thing. Like, a lot of the time there is a real way of figuring this out, but that one I just feel is trial and error, and that's ridiculous. I should not be expected to trial and error my way through a puzzle game. Thankfully, that doesn't happen too often in these games, so it's fine. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus, is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? and the next person aboard the omnibus was Mr. McGilden. And it was not a soul in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time. Did I not just say as much? Wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember, through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? No, I never heard it. It's exactly what I was listening for, weren't I? Waiting for this swell to leave. In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. Yes, this petty thief's statement was clearly flawed. Lord Van Zykes! Yes, he knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more. God damn it. She didn't even say anything. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she had some rather naughty ways, but I must say, I can't abide liars. And neither can I. So, you're putting a guilty verdict on my client because the other witness lied? That makes no sense. Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me. Yes, very refreshing. Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Naruhodo, the way this is going... no, if we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilden's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen. I have no idea how the bottle of wine hasn't run out. It defies all physics. Let me guess, you're gonna say... Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What do you say? I'm sorry, sir? Whatever do you mean? Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue my adjudication. Explain yourself at once. When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand. Yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage. If this petty thief's words are to be believed, How do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. Was in there already? Clearly, he was in there already from beforehand. It was put there after he died.
Objection!
Jesus Christ. Is that where the latch on the skylight comes in? The door wasn't opened even once. The only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way. I wondered what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door. The other has only windows. Fixed windows which cannot possibly open. In short, there is no entrance to the cabin other than the door. But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered. Oh, really? Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin. Right, counsel? The defense will identify the location for the court. It's the omnibus, which is... Take that! The answer is obvious. It could only have been the skylight. I say, the skylight.
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words.
Objection!
However, the skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass
Objection!
through. So you claim. Do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory? Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. Each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor. Yes, which has already been explained. It's the sound of the victim falling from his seat having been assaulted with the dagger. Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses described? A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry. In fact, good gracious. Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into...
Objection!
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, Not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true. Might a humble fella make a wee comment here? No! Don't say anything! Shut your mouth, sit in the corner, and wait for the trial to be over. Then being unable to say? Perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer? Or blitherer? Why is he making galloping noises? Mr. Fairplay, you're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and well-respected banker, and me, a very angry hatter, suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. I protest. I protest in the strongest possible terms. That's right, I protest too. He might be part horse. My lord, if I may comment. It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. Lord Fred has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to. It seems that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You propose to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimated their criminal guilt. In our British courts of law, that is what is termed a baseless accusation. I know it was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. We're gonna testify again. Spectators in the public gallery are in a complete frenzy. Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord. I didn't come here for this. There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. Anything happened where we were sitting? Don't you think one or the other of us would have noticed? In case neither of us know the first thing about the victim, we had no reason to kill the man. Let's go like shut the entire time we could possibly have opened it. You're so sure the victim fell through the skylight. Where's your proof? What? That lady was basically saying that if they were working together, then it would make sense. Something doesn't feel right here. The trial is going in our favor, really. So why do I feel so uneasy? Are you quite certain about that? The skylight was shut the entire time.
Wait, that ain't...
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Miss Lestrade? It opens. The skylight. It's what we're talking about, right? All them skylights open. Dead easy. More easily than you can load that weapon. You can't do it from inside, you mug. Oh, by the way, his reasoning of why it couldn't open was because when he was on the inside of it one time, he farted and he wanted to open it. That's literally what he said. Look, a few weeks ago, I was up on the roof deck of one of them drives. They had a great hall, years. To the last place. First, he got wise to me. Four of them surrounded me, so I couldn't hop off the bus and leg it. So what I did was I used the skylight, opened the catch and jumped right through. What? Yeah, the catch for them skylights is on the top side, that's why you can't open them from the cabin. The skylight opens from the roof deck? We knew that! See? I may cut this short soon. Go.
Hold it!
There.
Well, now. Excuse me.
Mr. McGilded. Yes, counsel? What can I be doing you for? Did the witness's last statement give you pause for thought somehow? Not the remotest connection. Is that right now, I wonder? What are you insinuating now? Ah, Mr. Fairplay. It's been too long, so it has. Eh? If I'm not very much mistaken, I believe 'tis fast approaching, is it not? Your repayment date. You borrowed 20 guineas from me, sir. An unconscionable rate of interest. You tricked me. It's extortion. Well now, is that a touch of begrudgery, is it? Sort of begrudgery that might motivate a fellow to pass his crimes off on another. And young Mr. First. What do you want with me, sir? You do be making hats for a living, do you not? That there top hat's lying about on your head. Is that one of your own creations, is it? Oh, well, I'm still just an apprentice, you understand, learning to find the perfect fit. Whatever fine gent walks through the door. The perfect fit, is it? It's a very distinctive design, so it is. Customers such as thrice-fired Mason. There was a photographic print of the victim submitted as evidence before, my lord. Oh, this, you mean? Can't help but think that poor fella's hat looks distinctly familiar, wouldn't you say? Oh! That's one of my hats! That it is. So it would seem the brickmaker was a customer of yours. The sort of customer, I'd wager, you could have had a wee quarrel with over the distinctiveness of the goods. Well, there's really nothing more to add. It wouldn't be right to say that the two fellas here haven't the remotest connection to the victim, you see. I rest my case. He's better at this than I am. Mr. McGilded has certainly been thorough in his research, hasn't he? Please don't let me a little interruption hold up the proceedings. I just got a trophy for something. Oh, is that because I need to... Objection! Bullshit! 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 Okay, if this next thing is wrong, I am going to cut it off short and play it again later.
Objection!
Yep. Alright, so I'm just gonna end the stream and finish this trial some other day. Because this is annoying. This is so annoying. I'm tired. Can't think straight.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty!
And this is a very
Guilty.
frustrating case.
Guilty.
I wanted to try to finish it, but I just can't tonight. I'm gonna hit retry to start from the current scene, save, and then quit. On second thought, hold on. No, I'm only gonna get more annoyed. So I'm gonna call it. Finish it some other day. I'm feeling better. Well, we're close. We're close to finishing it. So, the next time I live stream this, which will be much sooner, we'll get to the bottom of it. But, for now, I'll leave this off here. Thank you for attending my live stream. I will announce the next live stream on my Instagram channel, on my Instagram account. Silver Spider 2103. See you then. Good night.